I can win it all back, I swore. Instead, I lost $17,800 and my best friend cut me off. My name is Tommy. I run a construction company and used to come home to a pool, 2 kids, and 20 years of trust. Now I load lumber alone and my wife won't look at me. It didn't start with 17,000. It started with a good night, 1,200 up, tipping big, feeling like the man I wanted to be. I told my wife I was at my brother's poker game. Then I told her I had late meetings. Then work dinners. The lies got easier while the losses got bigger. My college buddy loaned me $5,000 to cover payroll. He found out where it really went. My son needed tuition money I'd already lost on aces that should have won. I kept a spreadsheet proving I was actually ahead if you counted that first night. The math lied better than I did. Let me take you back to the Friday I walked in wearing my good suit, ready to fix everything with one perfect night. When a man starts leaving his wedding ring as collateral, who breaks first? His family, his friends, or the last person still believing his promises? My name's Marcus, and for 3 years I dealt blackjack at the Riverside Casino in Council Bluffs. Watching people lose money they couldn't afford while telling myself I was different because I was on the other side of the table. That Friday night in early September started like any other, me shuffling cards under fluorescent lights that never dimmed. The constant ding of slot machines in the background. Cocktail waitresses weaving between tables with their trays held high. It was 9:15 when Tommy Chin sat down at my table. I remember the exact time because the Iowa State game had just gone into halftime on the TV behind the bar, and I'd been calculating whether the under would hit. Tommy wore a Midwest construction polo, the kind with his name embroidered on the pocket, and when he pulled out his wallet, I saw the worn edges of family photos tucked behind credit cards. $500 to start, he said, laying crisp 20s on the felt. His wedding ring caught the light as he arranged them in neat rows. Wife thinks I'm at my brother's poker game. I nodded and counted the bills, called out the buy-in for the cameras, slid him his chips. Green quarters mostly, a few blacks. Tommy stacked them carefully while I shuffled, the practiced motion that had become as natural as breathing. Through the curved reflection in the shoe, I caught a glimpse of my own face, tired, hollow around the eyes. That morning, Sarah had asked about the $400 missing from our checking account. I'd told her it was for new work shoes. You been dealing long? Tommy asked, placing his first bet. $25. 3 years. I dealt the cards. Him, Queen, 7. Me, 8 showing. Good hours? Depends what you call good. I watched him tap the table for a hit. Drew him a 4. 21. Tommy grinned, and for a moment he looked younger than his 40-something years. Maybe tonight's my night. The cards seemed to agree. In the first hour, I dealt him 2 natural blackjacks, both with $50 bets up. He was playing smart, following basic strategy, splitting his 8s, doubling down on 11. The kind of discipline that made you think he'd walk away ahead. His phone buzzed on the rail beside his chips. 3 texts in a row. He didn't check them. You married? He asked during a shuffle. Yeah. You? 20 years next spring. He placed another bet, larger now. 75. Michelle's at her book club tonight. They're reading something about mindfulness. I dealt. His 10 and 9 against my 6. He stood. I flipped my whole card, a 10. Had to hit. Drew a king. Bust. I pushed his winnings toward him, and he added them to his growing stacks, by 1030. Tommy was up 1,200. The other players at the table kept congratulating him, and he was buying in for them, tipping the cocktail waitress 20s for bringing him coffee. The pit boss, Brad, wandered over to watch, making small talk about construction work, about the new strip mall going up in West Des Moines. One more shoe, Tommy said when I announced my break. You're my lucky dealer. I dealt one more shoe. He won another 300, at 1130. Tommy stood up, racked his chips, looked at his stacks like he couldn't quite believe them. Know what? I'm actually going to cash out. He picked up a black chip, $100, set it in front of me. For you. Appreciate the good cards. Thanks. Good luck. Luck? He laughed, pocketing his winnings. This is skill, my friend. See you next Friday? I watched him walk toward the cashier, that bounce in his step I'd seen before. That transformation that made ordinary men feel extraordinary. My phone vibrated in my pocket. 3 missed calls from Sarah. I could already hear her voice, careful and measured the way she got when she was trying not to explode. See you next Friday, Tommy had said, like it was already decided. Like the cards would remember his name. I drove home at 2 a.m. through empty Council Bluff streets. The radio tuned to ESPN's overnight guys breaking down college football spreads for the weekend. Oklahoma was giving 7 points. The under looked good in the Michigan game. Information I filed away automatically, even though I'd promised myself, again, to stop. The apartment complex sat dark except for a few porch lights and the flickering blue of TVs through windows. I parked in our assigned spot, number 247, between a rusted pickup and Sarah's Honda with the cracked windshield we couldn't afford to fix. The stairs to our second-floor unit creaked under my weight. They'd been promising to fix those for 2 years, same as the water stain on our bedroom ceiling. Inside, the TV cast shadows across the living room. Sarah had fallen asleep on the couch, still in her scrubs from the clinic, her phone face down on her chest. A cooking show played on mute. She'd been waiting up again, trying to catch me when I couldn't dodge the conversation. On the kitchen counter, a note in her neat handwriting. We need to talk about the visa bill. I set my tips on the counter and counted them in the TV's blue light. $180, including Tommy's black chip. Enough for the minimum payment, maybe. Not enough for the questions that would come with it. The bathroom fan rattled as I closed the door behind me, pulled out my phone, opened FanDuel. Down $1,100 for the week. 3 parlays that should have hit. Killed by garbage time touchdowns and missed field goals. I stared at the balance, negative in red numbers. Deleted the app. My finger hovered over the space where it had been, already knowing I'd download it again tomorrow. It was the 4th time this month I'd deleted it. Like alcoholics pouring bottles down the sink. When I came back out, Sarah had shifted but hadn't woken. I pulled the blanket from the chair, covered her. She stirred, eyes opening halfway. "You're home," she said, voice thick with sleep. "Yeah, sorry. Good tips tonight. Did you eat dinner? Grab something at work." Another lie, small and automatic. I'd been living on casino coffee and the free cookies they put out near the cashier. She sat up, rubbing her face. "Marcus, we really need to, I know. Tomorrow, okay? When we're both awake." She looked at me for a long moment, and I could see her calculating whether to push it. "Your sister called. Wants to know if we're coming for Thanksgiving. What did you tell her?" "That I'd ask you." She stood, brushed past me toward the bedroom. "I'm going to bed." I followed her, listening to the familiar sounds of our nighttime routine. Her washing her face, setting her alarm for 5:30, plugging in her phone. I sat on my side of the bed, unlacing my work shoes, the ones that had supposedly cost $400. "There was a good tipper tonight," I said to the darkness after we'd turned off the lights. "Construction guy. One big." "That's nice." Her voice was flat, already building distance. I stared at the ceiling, at the water stain that looked like the state of Iowa, if you squinted. We'd noticed it the day we moved in, joking about it being a sign. Now it had spread, darker at the edges, threatening to bubble the paint. The landlord kept saying he'd fix it when he fixed the stairs. Sarah's breathing evened out, but I could tell she wasn't really asleep. Just done talking. I thought about Tommy's face when he'd won, that moment of transformation. Then I thought about my own reflection in the bathroom mirror, deleting the app I'd reinstall with my morning coffee. My phone lit up on the nightstand. A notification from the bank. Low balance alert. I turned it face down, matching Sarah's on her side. Tomorrow was Saturday. College football all day. I already knew I'd tell Sarah I was picking up an extra shift. She probably already knew I was lying. We were getting good at pretending not to know things. Building our own kind of gamble on how long we could avoid the truth. The ceiling stains seemed to pulse in the dark, growing without anyone watching, like everything else in our life. Tommy came back Tuesday night when the casino was a ghost town. 3 tables running, maybe 20 people on the whole floor. He walked in at 8 p.m. sharp, still in his work clothes, but freshly showered. Cologne not quite masking the smell of sawdust and sweat. His boots left faint dirt marks on the carpet that the cleaning crew would vacuum around 4 a.m. "Marcus, my man." He sat down at my empty table like we were old friends. "How's the wife?" "Good. Working late again." I didn't mention it was overtime she'd picked up to cover our rent. Now 5 days late. "Mine's at book club." Again. He pulled out his wallet, counted out 820s and 50s. "They're doing 2 meetings a week now. Something about establishing presence or some nonsense." I counted the bills, announced the buy-in. Tommy arranged his chips while I shuffled. telling me about the commercial project his company had just landed in West Des Moines. A strip mall with a Starbucks anchor, beating out 2 other contractors for the bid. 15% margin if we bring it in on time, he said, placing his first bet. $50. That's Kyle's, my son's. That's his whole first year of college right there. I dealt the cards. The shoe was cold from the start. 3 hands in a row, I pulled 21. Natural blackjack twice. Then a 3-card 21 that made Tommy shake his head and laugh, but the laugh had an edge to it. You eating Lucky Charms back there, or what? He doubled his bet. 100 now. I dealt again. Him, 2 sixes. Me, 10 showing. Split him, he said, adding another 100 to the table. First 6 drew a 5, then a king. 21. Second 6 drew another 6. Split again, I asked, though I knew he would. When the cards run cold, players try to force them warm. Another 100 on the felt. The third 6 drew a 4, then a 9. 19. The last 6 pulled a 10. 16. He waved it off. I flipped my whole card. Another 10. 20. Jesus. Tommy pushed another stack forward. Let's go 200. Change the energy. Brad, the pit boss, drifted over, pretending to check the discard rack, but really checking Tommy's heat. When players started jumping their bets, floor supervisors paid attention. How's the construction business? Brad asked, casual-like. Booming, Tommy said, not looking away from the cards. Can't build fast enough in this city. For the next hour, Tommy bled chips in that slow, steady way that feels like drowning in inches. He'd win 1, lose 2. Win 2, lose 4. By 11 p.m., he was down 1,500 and had loosened his collar, rolled up his sleeves. The disciplined player from Friday was gone, replaced by someone chasing ghosts. Michelle, know you're here? I asked during a shuffle, trying to slow him down. She thinks I'm at the office. Paperwork for the new project. He placed another 200 on the betting circle. What about yours? Sarah, right? She's pulling a double at the clinic. Budget cuts mean more hours for everyone left. Tough times, Tommy said, but his mind was already on the cards. I dealt him a soft 17. Hit him to a 20. Finally, a decent hand. Then I flipped a blackjack. Are you fucking kidding me? The words came out sharp, then he caught himself. Sorry. Just, the math doesn't make sense, you know? I should be winning some of these. Bad shoes happen, I said, collecting his chips. Yeah, well, I need a good shoe to happen. Soon. He bought in for another 1,000, cash from his inside jacket pocket. Company bonus came through today. Might as well put it to work. By midnight, he'd lost 1,000 plus another 500. His face had gone from frustrated to blank, that 1,000-yard stare players get when they're doing calculations that won't balance. When he stood up, his movements were careful, like the ground might shift. This weekend, he said, not a question. Friday night. I'll be here when you start your shift. Tommy, maybe take a break. Weekend can't come fast enough. He cut me off, already walking away. Need to even things out. I watched him go, shoulders tight, hand checking his pocket for car keys. Brad came over as I was clearing the table. Your boy's tilting, he said. He's not my boy. Sure he is. They always are once they learn your name. Brad marked something on his clipboard. See you tomorrow? Yeah, I said, though Sarah thought I had Thursday off. Another lie to add to the pile, like chips I couldn't afford to lose. Wednesday afternoon, I sat at our kitchen table with my laptop, trying to make the math work. Bank balance, $347. Rent due, $1,150. Electric, $89. Minimum payments on 3 credit cards, $195. Tips from last night, $65. The numbers swam on the screen like a game I couldn't win. The apartment was quiet except for the refrigerator's hum and the upstairs neighbor's dog pacing. Sarah was at work, wouldn't be home until after 9. I minimized the banking tab and opened Facebook, typed Tommy Chun into the search bar. Don't know why. Curiosity, maybe. Or recognizing something familiar in his desperation. His profile was public. Photos from Labor Day weekend filled the screen. A big white house with a 3-car garage, pool in the backyard, Tommy flipping burgers on a massive grill. His wife Michelle was beautiful in that suburban mom way, laughing at something off camera. 2 kids, teenagers. The daughter in a volleyball uniform, the son holding a guitar. Everyone smiling like the stock photos that come in picture frames. My phone buzzed. Text from Gary, our landlord. Third notice, Marcus. Need payment by Friday or we start eviction process. I stared at Tommy's pool, crystal blue in the September sun, then at our kitchen with its peeling linoleum and the dishwasher that hadn't worked since we moved in. Pulled out my Capital One card, the one I'd sworn was only for emergencies. The cash advance fee was $10 plus 24.99% APR. I requested $1,000. The money would hit my account tomorrow, in time for Thursday night football. The Patriots were giving 3.5. It was basically free money. Another text, this one from Sarah. Can you grab groceries on your way home? List on the fridge. I looked at the list. Milk, bread, ground beef. The cheap stuff that would stretch to 5 or 6 meals. Texted back, covering an extra shift tonight. Brad called in sick. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, we really need to talk tonight. I found something. My stomach dropped. The banking app was still open on her iPad. Or she'd seen the credit card statement I'd hidden under the car registration. Or any of a dozen other breadcrumbs I'd left while telling myself I was careful. Home late, but we can talk tomorrow. I typed, then deleted it, tried again. Be home by 11. She didn't respond. Sarah was waiting at the kitchen table when I got home, papers spread out like evidence in a court case. Bank statements with highlighted ATM withdrawals. Credit card bills with cash advance lines circled in red. A legal pad where she'd done the math in her precise nurse's handwriting. $3,400, she said without looking up. In 6 weeks. I stood in the doorway, keys still in my hand. Sarah, sit down. I sat. Up close. I could see she'd been crying, though her face was composed now. Professional. The same look she probably gave patients when delivering bad news. The Quick Trip ATM on Highway 6, she read from her notes. 4 withdrawals, 300 each. The Casey's in Carter Lake. 5 withdrawals, 200 each. All between midnight and 3 a.m. She looked up. Want to guess what's special about those locations? They're near the casino. No point lying now. There I in the casino, Marcus. I called. They have ATMs from both chains right next to the cashier cage. She pushed a brochure across the table. Gamblers Anonymous meets Thursday nights at St. Paul's Lutheran. 7 o'clock. I don't need. My sister offered us a loan. Her voice stayed level, clinical. $5,000. But only if you go to meetings. And only if you give me control of all the accounts. Your sister doesn't need to. We're 5 days late on rent. The electric company sent a shut-off notice. You've been lying about extra shifts while losing money we don't have. She stood up, gathering her papers. I love you, Marcus. But I'm not watching you destroy us. I picked up the GA brochure. A circle of people holding hands on the cover, looking hopeful. Thursday nights. Tomorrow. I'll go, I said. Tomorrow, I promise. She walked over, kissed my forehead. Her lips were cold. I'm sleeping in the bedroom. You can have the couch. After she closed the door, I sat at the table with the GA brochure, reading the 12 steps, the promises of a better life. Then I opened my phone, found a Reddit thread about beating variance in sports betting. The guy claimed he'd turned 500 into 12,000 using a progressive betting system. The math looked solid. Scientific. Even. I read until 3 a.m., taking notes, convincing myself that knowledge was the answer. That I wasn't like the people in that brochure photo. I just needed a better system. Friday night, Tommy arrived looking like he'd slept in his truck. Stubble, coffee stain on his Midwest construction polo, eyes red-rimmed and darting. He walked straight to my table even though 3 others were open, pulled out a roll of 20s thick as a fist. 2,000, he said, laying it on the felt. Cash. Brad came over to verify the buy-in, counting the bills, all 20s like they'd come from an ATM. Or several ATMs. Tommy drummed his fingers on the rail while we waited, mentioned something about Michelle thinking he was at another Contractors Association meeting. How's the West Des Moines project? I asked, trying for normal conversation. Good. Great. Kyle's tuition is due next month. He arranged his chips in neat stacks, blacks and greens. Actually, I'm up overall if you count that first night. 1,200 plus the 300 from last week before the cold streak. Just need to get back to even tonight. The math was wrong. He'd lost 1,500 on Tuesday alone, but I didn't correct him. Gamblers all had their own accounting systems, ways of making the numbers tell different stories. For the first hour, the cards loved him. For blackjacks in 20 minutes. Doubles that hit. Splits that worked. By 10 p.m., He was up 3,500, talking loud, buying drinks for the table, pulling out his phone to show me Hawaiian resort websites. 20 years, he kept saying. Michelle deserves something special for putting up with me that long. Then the shoe turned. Not dramatically, just that slow bleed where nothing quite works. His 20s lost to 21s. His 19s lost to 20s. Double downs pulled small cards. By 11:30, he was back to even. By midnight, he was down 1,000. One more shoe, he said when I announced my break. I can feel it turning around. The last shoe destroyed him. 2 aces came out against my 6. Perfect setup. He split them, then doubled both, pushing his remaining 1,300 into play. First ace pulled a 5, then a 4. 15. Hit it. 10. Bust. Second ace pulled a 3, then another 3. Soft 15. Hit. 8. 13. Hit again. 9. Bust. Tommy stared at the empty felt where 5,000 in chips had been an hour ago. His phone was buzzing. Michelle's photo on the screen. He declined the call, pulled off his wedding ring, set it on the table. Hold my spot, he said. 20 minutes. Just need to hit the ATM. Tommy. But he was already walking away, leaving his ring on the felt like collateral on a loan we both knew he couldn't pay. Tommy didn't come back in 20 minutes. Or 30. I pocketed his ring when Brad started asking questions, told him Tommy had stepped out for a phone call. By the time my shift ended at 2 a.m., the ring was burning a hole in my pocket. And Tommy's phone had called the casino floor 3 times looking for him. I found him in the parking lot, sitting in his F-150, engine running, staring at his phone. The cab light was on, and I could see Michelle's texts filling the screen. Where are you? The meeting ended hours ago. Please just tell me you're safe. I knocked on the window. He looked up, eyes unfocused, then rolled it down. I couldn't find another ATM that would give me cash, he said. They all said insufficient funds. Your ring. I held it out. He looked at it like he'd forgotten what it was. Keep it. Collateral. I'll be back tomorrow with the money I owe you. You don't owe me anything. The tip, he said. From that first night. I need to win it back. All of it. I wanted to tell him to go home. To talk to Michelle. To try that GA meeting Sarah had circled in the brochure. Instead, I said, drive safe, and watched him pull out of the lot, weaving slightly, probably not drunk, but something worse. Desperate that I home. Sarah had left a note on the pillow. Went to Karen's for the weekend. The GA meeting is at 7. Please go. I sat on the couch with Tommy's ring, rolling it between my fingers. Inside the band, an inscription, M&T Forever, March 15th, 03. 20 years next March. Just like he'd said. My phone buzzed. DraftKings notification. TNF special. Bet $50. Get $200 in bonus bets. I opened the app, the one I'd sworn I'd deleted, and looked at the Thursday night game. Broncos versus Chiefs. The over/under looked good. The cash advance had hit my account that morning. $1,000 that could become $2,000. Enough to pay rent, make Sarah happy, maybe even have something left over. I placed the bet. 200 on the over, progressive system like the Reddit guy explained. If it lost, double it. Simple math. Scientific. Then I set Tommy's ring on the coffee table and watched it catch the light from the TV. Wondering if Michelle was awake too, staring at the empty space on Tommy's finger. Doing her own kind of math about what had disappeared and what might never come back. The over didn't hit. Neither did the double down bet. Or the one after that. By Friday afternoon, the $1,000 cash advance was gone, scattered across 6 failed bets that had all seemed like sure things. I called in sick to work and drove to 3 different banks, trying to find one that would give me another advance. The fourth one did. 500 at 29.99% APR. Sarah called while I was sitting in the bank parking lot. I let it go to voicemail. Marcus, Karen said you didn't show up to the GA meeting. We're coming back Sunday to talk about next steps. Please don't do anything stupid before then. Tommy's ring was still in my pocket. I'd meant to leave it in the casino safe, but somehow kept carrying it around like a talisman. Or a reminder. Or maybe just evidence that I wasn't the only one drowning. That night, I dealt to a mostly empty floor. October had arrived cold and sudden, and people were staying home. Tommy didn't show. Neither did any of my other regulars. Just tourists passing through, playing minimum bets, making small talk about the weather. My tips for the night, $37. Around 11 p.m., a woman approached my table. Mid-40s, professional looking, exhausted in that specific way I recognized. She looked at me, then at the empty chairs, then back at me. Are you Marcus? My chest tightened. Yeah, I'm Michelle, Tommy's wife. She sat down but didn't buy in. He said you might have his ring. I pulled it from my pocket, slid it across the felt. She picked it up, examined the inscription, then put it in her purse. Is he okay? I asked. He's in the car. Won't come in. Said he owes you money. He doesn't owe me anything. She studied my face. He lost $18,000. Did you know that? I know. I didn't know it was that much. His friend Adrian loaned him $5,000 last week. For the business, supposedly. Adrian called me yesterday when he found out where it really went. She stood up. I'm not blaming you. You're just doing your job. But I need you to know, we might lose the house. Our son might not go to college. 20 years of building something, and he destroyed it in 2 months. I'm sorry. Are you? She looked at my nameplate, then at my hands. You're married. Does your wife know what you do here? Before I could answer, she walked away. Through the windows, I could see Tommy in their minivan, head down, shoulders shaking. Michelle got in the driver's side. They sat there for a long moment before driving away. Brad came over. Problem? No. Just someone looking for someone. Well, you're someone from Tuesday called. Tommy something. Wanted to know if you were working tomorrow. What did you tell him? That we don't give out employee schedules. Brad shrugged. But he'll probably show up anyway. They always do. Saturday morning, I woke to Sarah standing over the couch, holding my phone. The DraftKings app was open, showing a balance of negative $300. She'd figured out my password. Of course she had. It was her birthday. I'm done, she said. Just that. No tears, no yelling. I'm filing the papers. Sarah, please. I withdrew what was left in our savings. $87. That's yours. The rest is going toward the electric bill, so they don't shut it off. She set my phone on the coffee table next to Tommy's ring. I'd forgotten to give it to Michelle. Karen's picking me up in an hour. Can we talk about this? We've been talking about it for 6 months. You've been lying for 6 months. She pulled her suitcase from the closet, already packed. The apartment's paid through October. After that, you're on your own. I watched her pack her nursing books, her coffee mug, the photo of us from our courthouse wedding 3 years ago. We'd been so sure then that love was enough, that we could build something better than what we'd come from. I saw Tommy's wife last night. I said, desperate to keep her talking. He lost $18,000. Sarah stopped packing. And you think that makes you better? Because you only lost $3,000? Or $5,000? Or however much you're not telling me about. I can fix this. No, Marcus. You can't. Because you don't think it's broken. You think it's just a bad streak. You think the next bet will turn it around. She zipped the suitcase. I used to be sad about this. Now I'm just tired. Karen's Honda pulled up outside, honked once. Sarah dragged her suitcase to the door, stopped. The GA meeting is Thursday at 7, she said without turning around. I won't be there to remind you again. After she left, I sat on the couch staring at the $87 she'd left on the table. My phone buzzed. College football lines were out. Alabama was giving 14 points. The model on Reddit said it was a lock. I picked up the cash, thought about gas money to get to work, food for the week, the phone bill due Monday. Then I opened my phone, deposited the $87 into DraftKings. Just one bet to get back to even. Just one good day to fix everything. The apartment felt hollow without Sarah's presence, like a casino after closing. All the lights still on, but nobody winning anything. Alabama didn't cover. They won by 13.1 points. One single point between me and fixing everything. I threw my phone against the wall, watched the screen spiderweb, but keep working. Even broken, it could still take my money. Sunday was a blur of NFL games I couldn't bet on and calls I didn't answer. Michelle left a voicemail saying Tommy had entered treatment, asking if I could write a letter for his counselor about what I'd observed. My landlord texted about November rent. Sarah's sister Karen called to say Sarah was safe, but didn't want to talk. Monday morning, I went to work like nothing had changed. Dealt cards to strangers, made change, called out blackjacks. My hands moved automatically while my mind calculated impossible math. How to make 400 in tips cover 2,000 in bills. Tommy showed up Tuesday night. He looked different. Cleaner but emptier, like someone had power washed his soul. He sat at my table without buying in, just watching me deal to other players. I'm in treatment, he said during a shuffle. 90 days inpatient. That's good. Michelle's filing for divorce. But she's letting me see the kids on Sundays. I'm sorry. My friend Adrian, the one who loaned me money, he called my other friends, my brothers, told them everything, said it was an intervention. Tommy laughed, bitter. I guess it worked. A player at third base hit on 17 and busted. Tommy flinched like the cards had hurt him personally. I keep having this dream, he said. I'm at a table, and I can see everyone's cards. I know exactly what's coming, but I still lose. Every hand, I still lose. Why are you here, Tommy? Group therapy starts tomorrow. Wanted to see it one more time while I still could. He stood up. Your wife know about your thing? What thing? Come on, Marcus. Dealers don't have red eyes from crying over other people's losses. He pulled out a GA pamphlet, identical to the one Sarah had left. Thursday nights. 7 o'clock. St. Paul's Lutheran. I know. Knowing and going are different things. He started to walk away, stopped. That first night, when I won 1,200, that was the worst thing that could have happened to me. It made me believe I could do it again. After he left, I dealt the rest of my shift in silence. Tips were bad, $42. Not enough for gas and food. Definitely not enough for the minimum payment on the credit card I'd maxed out. In the parking lot. I sat in my car and opened my phone. The cracked screen made everything look fractured. Sarah hadn't called. The GA meeting was in 2 days. Tommy was in treatment. Alabama had lost by 1 point. I drove home to my empty apartment, Tommy's story echoing in my head. That first win, that transformation, that belief that the next hand would fix everything. I thought about Sarah, probably asleep at her sister's, not wondering anymore where I was or when I'd be home. The math was simple. I'd lost everything that mattered chasing something that didn't exist. Wednesday arrived gray and bitter. The kind of October cold that reminded you winter was coming whether you could afford heat or not. I called in sick to work again, spending the morning staring at job listings for anything that wasn't casino-related. Warehouse work, night stocking, pizza delivery, all paying less than dealing, none enough to catch up on what I owed. My phone rang. Brad from the casino. Marcus, you've called in 3 times in 2 weeks. You coming in tonight or not? Family emergency. I lied. Right. Well, emergency or not, one more absence and you're done. Union rules only protect you so far. After he hung up, I did the math again. Dealer base pay plus tips averaged $20 to $100 a month. Barely enough when Sarah and I split expenses. Impossible alone. The credit card's minimums were $800. Rent was $1,150. Phone, electric, gas for the car. I needed $3,500 minimum just to stay afloat. I opened DraftKings. The account was locked. Negative balance exceeded their limit. FanDuel showed the same. Caesars had suspended me 2 weeks ago. The legal options were exhausted. That's when I remembered Joey Torino. Joey ran a book out of the back of his pawn shop on South 24th. Cash only, no limits, no questions. The kind of place desperate people went when legitimate desperate wasn't enough. I dealt to him once at the casino. He'd tipped me his business card along with a black chip. Said dealers always needed a backup plan. I found the card in my wallet, worn soft from living behind my driver's license. Joey's Golden Loans, with a number handwritten on the back. I called before I could think better of it. Yeah. Joey's voice was cigarettes and suspicion. This is Marcus, dealer from Riverside. You gave me your card. Marcus, sure. What do you need? I need to place a bet. Come by after 5. Bring cash. I don't have, then get some. I don't run charity. The line went dead. I looked around the apartment for anything to sell. The TV was Sarah's before we met. The laptop was 5 years old, worth maybe $50. My wedding ring, white gold, simple band, might bring $200 at a pawn shop. If I pawned it at Joey's, maybe I could bet it right there. Turned $200 into $400, into $800. Into enough. I twisted the ring off. Felt the pale indentation it left behind. Joey's Golden Loan squatted between a check-cashing place and a shuttered Chinese restaurant. Bars on the windows, cameras on every corner, a sign saying, "We buy gold," in 6 languages. The kind of place you walked into with problems and left with different, worse problems. Joey sat behind bulletproof glass, thick fingers sorting through a tray of jewelry. He looked exactly like Central Casting would send for bookie, tracksuit, gold chain, face that had taken and thrown plenty of punches. Marcus the dealer, he said without looking up. What you got? I slid my wedding ring through the slot. He examined it with a jeweler's loupe, weighed it on a digital scale, typed something into an ancient calculator. 150, he said. It cost 400. Not here, it didn't. 150 cash. Or 200 credit toward bets. Credit, I said immediately. He smiled, knowing he had me. Thursday night football? College games this weekend. Thursday night. Broncos Chiefs. Chiefs giving 6. Over-under at 44. The same game I'd lost the cash advance on. I knew these teams, had studied every stat. The over had missed by 3 points last time because of 2 failed red zone conversions. Those were flukes. Anomalies. For 100 on the over, I said. You got 200 credit. I'm good for it. I work at Riverside. Joey laughed. Dealers always think they're good for it. 200. Take it or leave it. Take it. He wrote the bet on a slip of paper, carbon copy beneath. Handed me the yellow copy through the slot. Settles Friday morning. You lose, you owe me 200 cash by Sunday. You win, I owe you 160 after juice. If I can't pay Sunday, then it becomes 250 by next Sunday. 300 the week after. You know how this works. He went back to sorting jewelry. And Marcus? I know where you work. I know where you live. This ain't DraftKings. There's no customer service to complain to. Walking out, I passed a guy carrying a guitar case, shoulders slumped in that particular defeat of selling something you loved. We made eye contact, recognized each other as members of the same club nobody wanted to join. I in the parking lot. I sat rubbing the indent where my ring had been, telling myself this was the bottom. That after this bet hit, I'd quit for real. Get Sarah back. Go to those meetings. The Thursday night game kicked off in 22 hours. Thursday, 7 p.m. St. Paul's Lutheran Church basement. I sat in my car in the parking lot, watching people file in for the GA meeting. Middle-aged men in work clothes. Women in scrubs like Sarah wore. A kid who couldn't be more than 20. All walking through those doors like they'd found something inside worth looking for. The over-under for tonight's game was 44 points. Kickoff in 1 hour. If I went inside, I'd miss the first half. Might miss everything. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number that I recognized as Joey. Game time in 60. You feeling good? Another buzz. Michelle Chun. Tommy wanted me to remind you about tonight. He can't make calls yet, but he's thinking of you. I looked at the church doors, then at my phone showing the pregame stats. The Chiefs were resting 2 defensive starters. Denver's quarterback was questionable with a shoulder injury, but expected to play. Every indicator pointed to points. Lots of points. A woman got out of the car next to me, noticed me sitting there. She walked over, knocked on my window. I rolled it down. First time, she asked, just waiting for someone. I lied. Me too, first year. Waiting for myself to show up. She smiled. I sat in this parking lot 6 weeks before I made it through those doors. Lost my kids' college funds, my retirement, nearly my marriage. You know what finally got me inside? What? Realizing the game was going to go on whether I watched or not. But my life was only going to change if I walked through that door. She headed inside. Through the basement windows, I could see a circle of chairs, people shaking hands, hugging. Someone was laughing. Someone else was crying. Both seemed okay. My phone showed kickoff in 53 minutes. I started the car, backed out of the spot. Told myself I'd come next week, after this bet hit, after I paid Joey, after everything was settled. The ring finger on my left hand felt naked, weightless, like something essential had been amputated. Home. I turned on the game. Denver received, marched down the field. Touchdown. 7-0. My heart rate jumped. This was it. The comeback started now. Kansas City answered with a field goal. 10 total points in the first quarter. Tracking perfectly for the over. I pulled out Joey's betting slip, smoothed it on the coffee table next to where Sarah's key used to sit. Did the math. Win this, pay Joey his juice, have enough left to make a payment on 1 credit card. It wasn't much, but it was movement in the right direction. The second quarter added another touchdown and field goal. 20 points at halftime. Halftime score, 17-3 Chiefs. 20 total points. I needed 25 more for the over to hit. I paced the apartment during halftime, stepping over the pile of overdue bills I'd stopped opening. The GA pamphlet Tommy had left. The photo of Sarah and me at our wedding that had fallen off the wall and cracked. The second half started with Kansas City ball, point 3 and out. Punt. Denver's ball. Fumble on the second play. The third quarter ended with no scoring. Still 20 total points. The fourth quarter started with both teams running the ball, Burning clock. Conservative play calling. Coaches playing not to lose instead of playing to win. With 5 minutes left, still 17-3, I did the math. I needed 3 touchdowns or some combination worth 24 points. Nearly impossible. Denver scored with 3 minutes left. 17-10, 27 total. Then Kansas City recovered the onside kick. Ran out the clock. Final score, 17-10. 27 points, total points 17 points under the over-under dot. I stared at the TV, at the betting slip, at my phone. Refreshed the score 3 times, certain there'd been a mistake. A missed field goal that hadn't registered. A safety somehow overlooked. But the math was absolute. 27 total points. I'd lost. Joey texted immediately. Tough break. 200 by Sunday. Cash only. I had $19 in my wallet. 43 in my checking account. No way to get 200 by Sunday without another loan, another bet, another something. My phone rang. Sarah, I watched the game, she said. You don't watch football. I know you bet on it. I know you lost. How could you? Because you always bet the over in division games. And because Tommy's wife called me. Told me about Joey's place. Her voice was calm, resolved. Marcus, I'm filing the papers tomorrow. Sarah, please. I can fix. Your landlord called me too. Said you're being evicted unless November rent is paid by Monday. I'm not on the lease anymore. I took myself off last month. You what? I knew this was coming. I've known for months. She paused. There's $900 in an envelope taped under the kitchen drawer. The one that sticks. It's everything I saved from selling my grandmother's jewelry. Take it. Pay Joey. Get out of town. Start over somewhere. That's your money. No, Marcus. It's goodbye money. It's please don't end up in the hospital money. It's the last thing I can do for someone I used to love. She hung up. I found the envelope exactly where she said, 950s and 20s, wrapped in a note. This is not for gambling. This is for surviving. Please choose to survive. Friday morning came with Joey calling at 8 a.m. 2 days, Marcus. Don't make me come looking. I held Sarah's $900, enough to pay Joey with $700 left over. $700, that could become $1,400 with the right bet. College football Saturday was tomorrow. 20 games, dozens of opportunities that I drove to work for my Friday night shift. The cash split between my pockets like I was already deciding which part to bet. Brad met me at the employee entrance. Need to see you in the office, he said. The office meant fired. I followed him up narrow stairs to a windowless room with a desk, 2 chairs, and a camera recording everything. 3 absences in 2 weeks, Brad read from a paper. Multiple customer complaints about distraction and errors. And this, he pulled out his phone, showed me security footage. Me pocketing Tommy's ring. That's theft, Marcus. He asked me to hold it. Doesn't matter. Casino property once it hits the felt. You know the rules. He pushed a termination form across the desk. Sign this, turn in your dealer license, and we don't press charges. I signed. What else could I do? Your last check will be mailed, Brad said. Minus the uniform costs and training repayment. Probably nets you about $200. In 2 weeks. That's the best I can do. And Marcus? You're blacklisted from all Boyd properties. Riverside, Ameristar, Diamond Joe. You can't even walk in as a customer. Security escorted me out through the parking garage, past the employee entrance I'd walked through 5 days a week for 3 years. My dealer's license went into a shredder. My parking pass got cut in half. 3 years of my life reduced to a $200 check I wouldn't see for 2 weeks that I in my car. I counted Sarah's money again. $900. Joey needed $200. That left $700. Rent was $1,150. I was $450 short. Unless I could turn $700 into $1,200. Just one bet. One good Saturday game. My phone had 37 betting apps downloaded, all either locked or limited. Except one, an offshore site I'd found on Reddit. No limits, no ID check, cryptocurrency only. I could buy Bitcoin at the gas station ATM, transfer it, bet it, cash out by Sunday. The Illinois-Michigan game tomorrow. Illinois getting 7 points at home. The model on Reddit loved it. Called it the lock of the year. I drove to 3 gas stations before finding one with a Bitcoin ATM that didn't require ID, Saturday morning. Illinois-Michigan kickoff at noon. I'd put $500 on Illinois, plus the 7 points. Kept $200 for Joey, $200 for myself, food, gas, phone bill. Told myself this was disciplined. Responsible. Even, the morning crawled. I cleaned the apartment, not because Sarah might come back, but because movement kept my hands busy. Found one of her hair ties behind the couch. A bobby pin under the bathroom sink. Little pieces of a life we'd built and I demolished. Tommy texted from a number I didn't recognize. In treatment. No phones, but counselor lets me send one message a week. At GA meeting yesterday, someone mentioned seeing you in the parking lot. You didn't come in. I started to type a response, deleted it. What could I say? That I was different? That I had control? That I was one bet away from fixing everything? Kickoff. Illinois received. Drove 60 yards, kicked a field goal. 3-0. Playing at home. Crowd engaged, looking sharp. This was going to work. Michigan answered with a 90-yard touchdown drive. 7-3, but Illinois was still covering the spread, back and forth through the first half. Illinois quarterback threw 2 perfect touchdowns. Michigan responded with a rushing touchdown and a field goal. Halftime, Illinois 17, Michigan 17. Tie game, Illinois still covering. Third quarter. Michigan's defense adjusted. 3 straight 3-and-outs for Illinois. Michigan scored twice. 31-17. Illinois needed a touchdown to cover. 8 minutes left. They drove to Michigan's 30. 4th and 2. They went for it. Stopped. Michigan ran out the clock. Final, Michigan 31, Illinois 17. Illinois lost by 14. Failed to cover by 7. I stared at my phone. The Bitcoin was gone. The 500 evaporated into digital nothing. I had $400 left in the world. 200 for Joey, 200 for everything else. Michelle Chun called while I was still staring at the final score. Marcus? Tommy asked me to call. He wanted to know if you made it to the meeting this week. Tell him I'm working on it. Are you? Because I know that tone. That's the tone Tommy had when he was working on it, while secretly destroying everything. I lost my job yesterday. Because of gambling. Because of everything. She sighed. Tommy's counselor says rock bottom is different for everyone. For Tommy, it was when Kyle found him sobbing in the garage at 3 a.m., holding his business license and a bottle of whiskey. What's yours going to be, Marcus? I didn't answer. Couldn't answer. The meeting is Thursday at 7, she said. Every Thursday. The door's always open. After she hung up, I sat with my remaining $400, doing impossible math, knowing Joey wouldn't wait. Sunday arrived with pounding on my door at 7 a.m. Not Joey. Worse. 2 kids, maybe 25, wearing too much cologne and gold chains like they'd watched too many movies. Joey's collection crew. Marcus. The taller one smiled. Joey says you got something for us. I handed over 200 in cash. They counted it twice. You're light, the shorter one said. 200 plus juice is 240. Joey said 200, that was Thursday. It's Sunday now. 240. I only have 200. They looked at each other, some silent communication. The tall one stepped inside, walked around my apartment like he was shopping, stopped at my laptop. This'll cover the 40. I need that for, you need to pay your debts. He unplugged it, tucked it under his arm. Joey says you got until next Sunday for another 200. After that, it's 300. After that. He shrugged. Don't let it get to after that. They left. I stood in my empty apartment with $200, no job, no computer, no way to make another 200 by next Sunday. The eviction notice was still taped to my door. November rent due tomorrow or proceedings start. I called the only person I could think of. Marcus. My brother Dylan sounded surprised. It's been like a year. I need help. Silence. Then, how much? 1,500. Maybe 2,000. Jesus. What happened? Everything. Sarah left. Lost my job. I'm getting evicted. Is this gambling stuff? Mom said she thought, yeah, it's gambling stuff. More silence. I can do 1,000. That's all I've got in savings. But only if you get help. Real help. I will. I'm driving down today. For hours. Be there by noon. And Marcus? This is it. One time only. He hung up. I looked at the 200 in my hand. Plus Dylan's 1,000 made 1,200. Enough for rent, with 50 left over. Nothing for Joey. Nothing for food or gas. But maybe enough to not be homeless. My phone buzzed. NFL Sunday lineup. Packers Vikings at noon. Vikings giving 3 at home. My brain immediately started calculating. 200 on Vikings could become 400. Pay Joey. Have money for food. I threw my phone against the wall. The already cracked screen finally shattered completely. Pieces of glass scattered across the floor like all the promises I'd broken, all the lies I'd told, all the bets that were supposed to fix everything. That I sat on the floor, surrounded by broken glass, waiting for my brother, wondering if rock bottom had a basement. Dylan stood in my doorway looking older than his 32 years. Same face as mine, but without the hollow eyes, the desperate edges. He held a McDonald's bag and 2 coffees. Wouldn't meet my eyes. "You look like shit," he said. "Feel worse." He handed me a coffee, walked through the apartment, stopped at the pile of bills, the eviction notice, the GA pamphlet still on the table. "How long?" he asked. 6 months. Maybe longer. Hard to tell when it started being a problem versus just being fun. Sarah, gone. Filed papers. Can't blame her. Dylan sat on the couch, pulled out an envelope. $100 bills. "This empties my savings." "Jen doesn't know." "Can't know." "I'll pay you back." "No." He cut me off. "You won't. This isn't a loan. It's goodbye money. Like when Dad left." "That's different, is it?" "He chose bottles. You chose cards. Both of you picked something else over family." The truth of it hit like a punch. Our father, drunk and gone when I was 10, Dylan 8. We'd sworn we'd never become him. "The meeting is Thursday," I said. 7 o'clock. "I'll go." "Sure you will." Dylan stood. "Pay your rent. Get food. Figure your shit out." "But Marcus?" "Don't call me again. Not until you've got a year clean." "A year? That's what Al-Anon says. 1 year before you can trust an addict's promises." He headed for the door. "I love you, brother, but I can't watch you kill yourself." After he left, I counted the money. Dylan's 1,000 plus my 200, 1,200 total. Rent was $11.50. That left $50 to my name. Joey still wanted 200 by next Sunday. That I had no job, no leads, no computer to even look for work. My phone was shattered but functioning. The gas tank was near empty. The refrigerator held condiments and Sarah's forgotten yogurt, expired 2 weeks ago, but I wasn't homeless. Not today. I walked to the landlord's office, paid November rent in cash. He looked surprised. "Thought you'd skip out," he said. "Almost did. December's due in 30 days. Same amount." "I know." Walking back, I passed St. Paul's Lutheran. The parking lot was empty, the basement windows dark. But Thursday would come. 7 o'clock. The door would open. I had $50, no job. A dealer named Joey who'd break my legs in 7 days. And a GA meeting in 4 days. The math was simple. I could use the 50 to gamble. Try to run it up to pay Joey. Or I could use it for gas and food. Make it to Thursday. Walk through those doors. I stood on the sidewalk, feeling the weight of my empty pockets where my wedding ring used to be, where my phone used to buzz with bet notifications, where Sarah's goodbye money had briefly lived. The choice was mine. It had always been mine. Thursday was 4 days away. Monday morning arrived with the kind of harsh brightness that makes every bad decision visible. I woke on the couch where I'd been sleeping since Sarah left, my back screaming, my mouth tasting like I'd been chewing on pennies. The $50 sat on the coffee table where I'd left it, fanned out like a poker hand. 5 tens. The last money I had in the world. My shattered phone showed 17 missed calls. 3 from Joey's number. 14 from numbers I didn't recognize, but knew were his. The texts were getting less subtle. 6 days left. Don't make this difficult. We know where you are. I needed food. Real food, not the packets of soy sauce and ketchup I'd been rationing from the drawer. The gas station 3 blocks away had a help wanted sign that had been there so long it had faded from red to pink. I walked there, saving gas, counting the steps like they were chips. 347 steps. At the door, I stopped. Inside, behind the counter, was Rashid. We'd gone to high school together. He'd been pre-med at Iowa State before his dad got sick, and he came home to run the family business. Now he stood there in a marathon shirt, selling scratchers to the morning drunks and energy drinks to construction workers. "Marcus." He looked genuinely happy to see me. "Man, it's been years." "Hey, Rashid. You look." He stopped himself. "You okay?" "Been better." "You hiring?" He glanced at the help wanted sign. "That's been up since my cousin quit. My mom keeps telling me to take it down. I can't pay much. Minimum wage, maybe 50 cents more. I'll take it. Don't you deal cards at Riverside?" Sarah posted pictures from that casino charity thing. "Not anymore." "And Sarah and I." I let it trail off. That Rashid's face changed, understanding something without needing details. "Can you start tomorrow? 6 a.m. shift? It's just register work." restocking, cleaning. Yeah, yes. Thank you. You sure you want this? It's not exactly. I need this, I said. I really need this. He reached under the counter, pulled out an application. Fill this out, bring it tomorrow. And Marcus? Whatever's going on, it gets better. I wanted to tell him that wasn't always true. That sometimes it got worse until there was no worse left to get. Instead, I bought a loaf of bread, jar of peanut butter, and a gallon of milk. $14. 36 left. Walking home, I passed a sports bar. Monday night football tonight. Ravens and Browns. The Browns were getting 10 points. My brain started calculating automatically. $36 wasn't much, but on a betting app with a deposit bonus, it could become 100. The Browns with 10 points at home was basically, I walked faster, clutching the grocery bag like an anchor. Back in the apartment, I made 3 peanut butter sandwiches. Ate them standing at the counter because sitting meant thinking and thinking meant planning bets. The power company had called twice. Final notice before disconnection. $89. I had 30-6.m. Y phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, then recognized the area code. Cedar Rapids, where Tommy's treatment center was. Marcus? It's Tommy. Hey, how are you? Listen, I only get 5 minutes. I wanted to tell you something before it's too late. Too late for what? For you to hear it. Day 18 here. 18 days without placing a bet. You know what I figured out? What? It was never about the money. Even when I was up 1,200 that first night, it wasn't about the money. It was about feeling like I mattered. Like I was special. Like the universe had picked me to win. He laughed, bitter. Turns out the universe doesn't give a shit. The cards don't know your name. The only thing that's real is what you destroy chasing what isn't. Tommy, Michelle brought the kids Sunday. First time I've seen them since I got here. Kyle wouldn't look at me. Sophie cried. They've been getting bullied at school because everyone knows their dad's in rehab for gambling. Can you imagine? My daughter getting called names because I couldn't stop myself from betting on cards. Kids are cruel. No, Marcus. I was cruel. Every bet I made was stealing from their future. Every lie I told was teaching them their father valued action over them. His voice cracked. I'm in here for 90 days. Michelle says if I complete it, if I do the work, she'll consider couples counseling. Not taking me back, just counseling. That's what I've got left. A maybe on counseling. That's something. Is it? I had everything. House, pool, business, family. Traded it all for the chance to feel special for a few hours. He paused. Where are you at with it? I lost my job. Sarah's gone. Got evicted. Well, almost. My brother bailed me out. But you're still gambling. It wasn't a question. I didn't answer. Marcus, listen to me. Really listen. I'm sitting in a room with cinder block walls, eating food that tastes like cardboard, sharing a bathroom with 3 other guys who've lost everything. One guy embezzled from his church. Another bet his kid's college fund on crypto. The third mortgaged his mother's house without telling her. We're all here because we couldn't stop. Because we thought we were different. Special. Like the rules didn't apply. I can stop. I just need to pay off Joey. That's what Michelle told me. Yeah, I know about Joey. Everyone who's gone deep enough knows about Joey. You think paying him makes it better? There's always another Joey. Always another debt. Always another bet that's going to fix everything. This is different. No, it's not. He was almost yelling now. It's never different. It's the same story every gambling addict tells. Just one more. Just to get even. Just to pay this off. Marcus, I'm begging you. Go to the meeting Thursday. Don't wait until you're in here or worse. Worse. Guy in my group. His bookie broke his hand. Hammer. For fingers. Can't work construction anymore. Can't hold his grandkid. All because he thought he could win it back. A counselor's voice in the background. Tommy's time was up. I gotta go, he said. But Marcus? That first night when I won. You were happy for me. I could see it. You wanted me to win. That's who you really are. Not the guy calculating odds and lying to everyone. You're the guy who wanted a stranger to catch a break. Go find that guy again. The line went dead that I sat in my empty apartment. $36 on the table. Monday night football starting in 3 hours. The Browns were getting 10 points. My phone, shattered but functional, had 17 betting apps downloaded. I could create a new account on one of them, use a different email, get a deposit bonus. Turn 36 into 72, into 150, into enough to pay the electric bill. Or I could save the $36 for gas to get to work tomorrow. To the GA meeting Thursday. to somewhere that wasn't here. I opened my phone, started deleting apps. One by one. DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars, BetMGM, PointsBet. Each deletion felt like cutting off a finger. By the time I finished, my hands were shaking. The game started. Ravens scored early. The Browns looked terrible. They would lose by 20. The bet I didn't make would have lost. But knowing that didn't make me feel better. It made me want to check the other games, find the ones that would have won, torture myself with the money I could have made. Instead, I turned off the TV, made another peanut butter sandwich, went to bed at 8 p.m. like a child, because being awake meant thinking about gambling. And thinking about gambling meant wanting to gamble. And wanting to gamble meant I would gamble. Thursday was 3 days away. Thursday, 6:47 p.m. I sat in my car outside St. Paul's Lutheran, watching people arrive for the 7 p.m. GA meeting. The gas needle hovered just above E. I'd used $8 of my remaining $36 to get here after 3 days of working at Rashid's Marathon Station. Minimum wage came out to $64 a day before taxes. At that rate, I need to work 3.5 days just to pay Joey. A full week to make November's electric bill. The math was always there. Constant as a heartbeat. A woman walked past my car, stopped, came back. The same one from last week who'd knocked on my window. She smiled, didn't say anything, just stood there waiting. After a moment, I got out. Knew you'd make it, she said. I haven't made it yet. You're here. That's making it. She extended her hand. I'm Linda. Marcus. We walked toward the church together. At the door, my feet stopped working. Everything in me screamed to run, to go find money, to place just one bet on tonight's Texans-Cowboys game. Dallas was giving 6.5. First meeting's the hardest, Linda said. Second one's harder. By the third, you realize hard is better than what you were doing. Inside, the basement smelled like coffee and industrial disinfectant. Fluorescent lights hummed. 23 chairs in a circle. 17 people already seated. I recognized 3 of them. A bartender from Riverside. A woman who worked at Wells Fargo downtown. A kid who delivered pizzas to the casino's break room. I sat between Linda and an empty chair. More people filed in. At exactly 7 p.m., a man in his 60s stood up. Welcome to Gamblers Anonymous. My name is Robert, and I'm a compulsive gambler. Hi, Robert, the room responded. I've been clean for 4 years, 3 months, and 12 days. But I'm still a compulsive gambler. I'll always be a compulsive gambler. That's the first thing you need to understand. This isn't something you cure. It's something you manage, one day at a time. He read from a laminated card about anonymity, about the 12 steps, about the nature of addiction. Then he sat down. We've got some new faces tonight, Robert said. Anyone want to share? No pressure. Just if you're ready. The silence stretched. Someone coughed. A chair creaked and I stood up. My legs felt liquid. I'm Marcus, and I. The word stuck. I don't know what I am. That's okay, Robert said. Tell us what you do know. I know I lost my wife. My job. Almost lost my apartment. I owe money to people who will hurt me. I know that I can't stop thinking about point spreads and over-unders and prop bets. I know that I've deleted betting apps 17 times and re-downloaded them 18 times. I know that I'm sitting here with $28 to my name, and part of me is calculating what that could become if the Cowboys cover tonight. Are you a compulsive gambler? Robert asked gently. The room waited. Linda reached over, touched my arm lightly. Yes, I said. I'm a compulsive gambler. Hi, Marcus. The room said in unison, and something about hearing my name said back to me, acknowledged and accepted, broke something inside. I started crying. Ugly crying. The kind where you can't breathe and snot runs down your face and you don't care who sees that I told them everything. Tommy's first win. Sarah's leaving. The wedding ring at Joey's. Dylan's goodbye money. The $50 on my coffee table and how I'd stared at it for 3 days like it was calling my name. How I'd worked 3 shifts at a gas station for less than I used to make in tips in one night. And how that somehow felt more honest than anything I'd done in months. I don't know how to not gamble. I finished. I don't know who I am if I'm not calculating odds. You're Marcus, Linda said. That's enough for today. The meeting continued. Others shared. The bartender talked about stealing from the till to cover NFL bets. The banker described creating fake accounts to fund her online poker addiction. The pizza kid had sold his car to pay a bookie and was delivering on a bicycle he'd borrowed from his little brother. Every story was different. Every story was the same. We'd all traded real life for the promise of the next beat. At 8 p.m., we stood, held hands, said the serenity prayer. I didn't know the words, but mumbled along. Then people started talking, drinking coffee, exchanging phone numbers. Real connection, not the fake camaraderie of a casino floor. Robert approached me. You working? Started at a gas station. 3 days ago. Good. Routine helps. You got a sponsor? I don't know what that is. Someone who's been where you are. Someone you can call when you want to bet. He handed me a business card. I'm available. Call me. Day or night. Why would you? Because someone did it for me. For years, 3 months, and 12 days ago. He smiled. You coming back Tuesday? There's a Tuesday meeting? Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Some of us hit all 3. Whatever it takes to not bet today. The pizza kid approached, nervous. Hey, you were a dealer at Riverside, right? Yeah. I always wondered, do dealers gamble? This one did. Too much. But you saw people lose every day. How could you? Because I thought I was different. Special. Smarter than the average player. I laughed at the absurdity of it. Turns out the house edge doesn't care how smart you think you are. People started leaving. Linda walked me to my car. You did good tonight, she said. I don't feel good. I feel empty. Empty's better than what you were full of. Trust me. She pulled out her phone. What's your number? I gave it to her. She texted immediately. That's my number. You feel like betting, you call me first. Not after. First. What if it's 3 a.m.? Especially if it's 3 a.m. That's when we make our worst decisions. Driving home, I passed 3 billboards for sports betting apps. Bet $5. Win $200. Live betting now available. Your team, your bet, your win. The radio was running ads for this weekend's NFL games. I turned it off, drove in silence to AT home. There was a note on my door. Not an eviction notice. Handwritten, no envelope. Marcus, heard you're working at Rashid's. That takes guts. If you need a reference for something better, call me. One addict to another. Brad from the casino. He'd known all along. Inside, my apartment felt different. Still empty, still broke, still facing impossible math. But I'd said it out loud. I'm a compulsive gambler. The words existed now, couldn't be taken back. My phone buzzed. Text from Linda. Day 1 starts now. You got this. Another from Robert. Meeting Saturday, 10 a.m. if you need it before Tuesday. A third from a number I didn't recognize. This is Derek, pizza delivery guy. Want to grab coffee tomorrow? I get off at 3. For the first time since Sarah left, I wasn't alone with the math. Joey still wanted his money in 3 days. The electric company wanted theirs in 7. December rent would be due in 26 days. The numbers were still impossible. But tonight, for these few hours before tomorrow, I wasn't gambling. Wasn't calculating odds. Wasn't lying to anyone. Day 1. The math was simple. 1 was more than 0.